All right, all you out there in geekdom land, welcome to Geeks and a Microphone. Special broadcast tonight. We are doing a special Creators Corner, and I have with me my guest Jacob. Is it Ruchser? Is that? Am I saying it right? I should have clarified this before we started.
It's okay. I actually thought about that and forgot. No problem. That's the way everybody thinks it's pronounced. It's actually Ruxer.
Ruchser. Okay. Well, yeah, it looks like Ruchser, so okay, Ruchser. All right.
Everybody loves to put that S in front of the CH.
All right. Well, Jacob is the creator of a. Should I say new? Is it all that new?
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
it's new. It's um 100% new.
So you've got a new comic book. I'll let you tell the title of it,
So the title of my comic book is Cosa Nostra's Comrade.
and that's why I didn't say it. Cosa Nostra's Comrade. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're we're definitely talking about a Russian-based uh, double agent, if I remember right.
No, 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 no. So Cosa Nostra means our thing in Italian,
Oh,
and it's another name for it's what the mafia, the Italian-American Mafia, calls themselves is Cosa Nostra. Um,
okay.
so so the story is about a gentleman. It takes place in the early 1980s. He is a Russian from the
Okay.
Soviet Union, obviously, because we're in the early 80s. And he is a former special ops, or what is referred to as Spetsnaz in Russia. They're basically the equivalent today of our Navy SEALs. He, since serving in the invasion of Afghanistan in the early 1980s, has all of a sudden, for some reason, relocated to Brooklyn, New York.
Huh.
Um, and he inadvertently gets a job with the mafia in New York City.
Nice. Nice.
So as I'm sure a lot of people might know, the term that Russians use quite often, especially in pop culture, is comrade. They call each other comrade.
Right.
So that was one of the big things, was trying to figure out what to call this book. I ran through a lot of titles, and most of them were kind of silly. Um, the title to this to me does seem a little bit simple, but sometimes the simple stuff is the most effective, and it's the hardest to come up with. Sometimes the simple stuff is most difficult, and the difficult stuff is easy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I thought, well, what's the mafia? Okay, well, the mafia is Cosa Nostra, and well, what is he going to basically be to the mafia? Well, he's their friend, and it's like, well, comrade is another word for friend, and comrade is a word that Russians, say to each other. So I said, perfect, Cosa Nostra's comrade. He's a friend
So
to the
just all
mafia.
clicked then.
Yeah, yeah. It all just clicked title wise. So
Very
um,
nice. Very nice. I lost you for a second there. Sorry. Um. So okay. So what is your influence? What got you to decide to create this character, and where your influence is lying for this?
so as far as comic books go, I actually was not introduced. Well, let me start over. First time I was introduced to comics, I was really, really young. I was probably they no longer exist anymore. I don't know if you remember the bookstore Borders.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. That was a frequent of mine.
Yeah, me too. I love going in there, and excuse me, I would always go to the graphic novel section. Now,
Mhm.
I every time I did that, I always thought to myself, I'm like, aren't comic books supposed to be like thin and like papery? I'm like, why are these books so thick? And I'm like, I open them up and I'm like, they look like comic books, but they're so thick, and they call them graphic novels. I'm like, this isn't a comic book. So technically, that was my first exposure to comic books, but
Nice. Nice.
I didn't actually really get into them until 2019. A friend of mine got me into playing Magic the Gathering, which unfortunately I no longer play that card game. But the store that he took me to was called the Card Store, and they sell cards, but it's mainly a comic book store actually.
Right.
So as soon as I went in, I was just, I don't know, I was just taken in by it. There's a certain aura, there's a certain feeling, a vibe when you go into a comic book store, and I kind of just, I was just kind of instantly in love. Um, I bought the first uh, somewhat relatable genre wise to my liking of things that I saw. It was called The Killer. It's actually a popular French comic book. I can't remember the name of the writer, but his book is they actually made a Amazon or a Netflix movie about it. It was horrible. It
Oh,
was
really?
yeah, it was an absolutely horrible movie. I thought because it didn't stay true to the comic, unfortunately. But it was so popular in France that they printed it in English, and it's a little bit older, and they made a Netflix movie with it with Michael Fassbender. His acting was great. The movie just I shouldn't say the movie was bad. The movie just didn't hold very true to the comic, and that that of course is a turnoff for anyone who's
Is
a
it an
fan.
American movie?
Yeah, yeah. The movie that's on, I think I want to say it's Netflix. That yeah, it's American.
Because maybe we just didn't get it. You know what I mean? Sometimes it doesn't translate well from other countries, and I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, and it just didn't translate well for a movie. So interesting. So okay, so what? So you're relatively new to not only comic creation but comic collecting then.
Yeah. So after that, I was buying trade paperbacks and graphic novels and reading like whole series, mainly from Image. And the thing that I really liked is I see how comic books have become. Well, you can make a comic about everything. I think there's this stigma associated with comics that, like, as soon as you hear comic book, Comic Con, you're already thinking Batman, Superman, Spider Man, the Avengers, so on and so forth. And it's like, no, it's like there's comic books out there. There's horror comic books.
Oh yeah.
There's action comic books. There's adult comic books. There's unfortunately adult comic books, if you catch my drift. So I was like, wow, and I was like, I was very taken in by that. So at first, I was reading a lot of trade paperbacks, and then I started buying individual issues. Then I started buying whole series and reading them issue by issue, and but having the whole series of each issue. Then for a while I stopped, and then I just went full bore into just collecting, sending things to CGC, buying things that I knew were collectible at a cheaper price, and then holding on to them. And
Oh
then
wow, you went a step further than me, and I've been collecting since I was probably 14. I don't know.
oh,
Well, actually younger than that because my first real comic that I really remember buying would have been the New Teen Titans in 1980. So, so I've been collecting for quite a long time. Granted, that's off and on too. There was moments of I couldn't collect for this because I didn't have the money, so on and so forth. But I've never sent anything to CDC to be
oh
graded.
no.
So you've went a step further than I have.
No kidding. Yeah, no, it's so I went hard into collecting, and then a there's an artist here locally in Buffalo by the name of Kevin Delgado, who is the creator of the series Tough Stuff. And I went into a local comic book store, and someone said, "Yeah, this is his book," and yada yada. And I decided to just reach out to him on Facebook, and him and I kind of inadvertently became friends. I'm just a very big supporter of his work. Phenomenal artist, great writer.
Nice.
I have a lot of like I have 7 commissioned cover comics that I own, and 6 of them are by him. So if
Oh
that
wow.
tells you anything, yeah, no, he's. But basically, at that point, which was about getting all screwed up here time wise because we're in 2025 now. So that was the getting towards the end of 2023. And I discovered him, and I became friends with him, and I discovered his book Tough Stuff, and I bought his books and I started reading them, and kind of it kind of pulled me back into reading because I hadn't been reading books as much. Right now, if I was to turn the camera, I have a stack about
Uh,
This tall of stuff that I haven't read yet, that I need to either haven't started or that I need to catch up on.
oh, I know how that is. I got tons of Star Wars books that I need to read, and I just haven't had time. Now, however, I just bought, and we're going to have him on the podcast too. Trying to find it here. I just bought the new Batman novel by John Jackson Miller. Like I said, we're going to have him on at the end of February, and I started tearing into this, especially when I threw out an invite for him to come back, because we've actually had him on the show before. But when I threw out an invite for him to come back, I didn't expect him to say, "Yeah, sure." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll come back. In fact, my kids still use your mug." So I was like, "Perfect," because I sent him one of our coffee mugs. But yeah, I've been tearing through this, and I am almost 3/4 of the way through the book now in like 2 weeks. So this is like the fastest book I've read in a long, long time. So yeah, I've got a stack of books that I need to, and that not only that, but I have a much huger stack of comic books that I got to catch up on. So it's a never ending list.
No, I hear you. I hear you. So, um, so from reaching out or from discovering Kevin Delgado and buying his comic book series and becoming friends with him, and now mind you, he's an artist. He doesn't just create, write. He also obviously draws. He does all his own art. He does all his lettering and editing. He does everything himself.
Nice.
So, and I wish so badly I was able to draw and do art. All of you out there that are able to draw and do art, I envy you. You guys are savants. Like,
Agreed. Agreed.
like that is
I've
just.
tried my hand at dabbling with it. My daughter always says, "Oh, you're good, Dad." And I'm like, "No, no, I'm not. I am not good at all."
Hey, I've tried my hand many times. It's usually outlining it, on a piece. So, but so I thought to myself, I'm like, well, he made his own book. I'm like, why can't I?
Sure.
Um, when I was 13, I don't do this anymore, but I actually used to. I mainly started out when I was younger writing a lot of poetry, my own quotes, things like that, a lot of creative writing, and I eventually started doing rap music.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I did that. Yeah, I did that for about 10 or 11 years. I'm
Oh,
33 now. I've got some music online and stuff like that. We won't talk about that right now, but um, I've been out of that
it's
game
okay
for a
if you
long
want to
time.
promote your music. You go ahead and do that.
No, it's all right. No, it's like 12 years old, but uh, the uh, so I thought about doing my own. I figured he did his own book. Other people are making their own books. Why can't I? So in 2006, there was a movie that came out with Nicolas Cage called Lord of War. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I can't say that I have.
Okay, so it's about it's loosely based on a true story from as far as I know.
Okay.
He's from Ukraine. He's got
Wait, Nicolas Cage actually plays somebody else other than Nicolas Cage?
well, for conversation's sake, yes. um, he plays a guy from the Ukraine who now in the 80s who becomes a very successful arms dealer. He sells guns to people all over the world. Um, and I don't know why, but for some reason during the beginning of that movie, and the premise of my comic has nothing to do with that movie, but while I was watching it, I thought to myself, man, for some reason, I think it would be really cool if for whatever weird reason, if a full-blooded Russian was working for the Italian Mafia. I'm like, that just sounded interesting to me. And I actually thought it would make a cool movie. So I started writing a movie script and I got about 2 or 3 pages in and I was like, I can't do this. I'm like, I know nothing about writing movies. And I was like, mind you, I was like in 2006, I was what? I was like 14 or 15 at the time.
Sure.
So um, I put that aside. And then once I got the idea to make a comic, that premise kind of came back into my mind, and I'm like, well, I'm like, well, it can't just be some random Russian guy who works for the mafia. That doesn't make any sense. If anybody knows anything about the mafia in our country, if you're not Italian, you're not part of the group. So um,
Well, and every Italian, quote unquote, has ties to the mafia, of course.
yeah, yeah, of course,
I say I say that jokingly, but yeah, everybody I know who has Italian roots, oh well, I have connections to the family. Oh,
Hey,
okay. Sure you do.
just about, yeah. No, it's funny you say that. I've there's been a lot of people I've met in the course of my life. They'd be like, my relatives go back to the original Black Hand from Sicily, and I'm like, do they though? Yeah,
Right. Well,
I mean,
it's just like anyone who has a ounce of Native American in them, they always, oh, I have Cherokee. Why is it always Cherokee? Can't you guys come up with somebody else other than Cherokee? I kind of look at it the same way. It's like, oh, okay, all right, sure,
no,
sure.
I'm no, I'm with you because my niece is Native American, but she'll I don't for the life of me I can't remember what she is, but she's not Cherokee. She knows the name of her people, the name of her tribe, and then the clan, like the whole 9 yards.
See, I'm more apt to believe that then because she has more knowledge and she understands it. I get that, but everyone else is, oh, it's Cherokee. I'm related. Yeah, okay, whatever.
uh, yeah,
I've
no,
heard that with Italians too. Oh, I got connections to the family. Oh, sure you do.
well, and it's funny you say that because there's something attractive about. Well, actually, um, where was I at when I was talking about the book? Oh, so I was basically saying how if you're going to be in the mafia, you got to be Italian, right?
Right,
So
right.
I had to think of a way to how is this? The mafia is not just going to have some random Russian guy working for them, right?
Good point.
So
Good point. Now,
I
wait, are you giving away spoilers?
Oh no, no.
All
But
right.
something does transpire in the first issue that leads to our main character becoming quote unquote Cosa Nostra's comrade, a friend to the mafia. Um, so I had to think about that, and I laid it out, and I'm like, you know what, this, he could never be a made guy, but this would at least bring him in very close to this particular group. So I had to think long and hard about how to do that. Everything just kind of came flooding in and piecing together names, places, stuff like that. It was kind of a rush how it all kind of fell together. But at the same time, there was a lot that I didn't know. I'd never written a comic book before. Um, I
So
didn't.
did you find yourself, you're getting these ideas, okay, and they're coming to you, and like you said, it was like a rush. So do you find yourself getting like this flow of information? You get real excited. You start putting things down to piece of paper, and or electronic, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, now I got to stop and think about all this. Uh, Is that kind of the way things worked for you?
So how it worked for me, everything kind of, I put everything out in storyboards,
Okay. Oh, good.
and I grabbed a legal pad and a pen. Now, mind you, again, I cannot draw worth to save my life, but I put together this story, and I would just write stick figures, and then I would put on the first page, I made like a legend, and I would put
Right.
A for Andre. So when I drew something, a stick guy on a page, for whoever each character was, I would put a big letter in the middle of their little circular head indicating who that character was.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
Hey, that makes
so
sense.
so I put together the storyboards, and I was like, okay. I was like, I got these storyboards. I'm like, I don't have an artist. I don't know how to do this. There is actually a gentleman who I had bought a comic book from on eBay. His name was Brian Pilling. I bought I can't remember what issue it was, but um, it's a Tupac homage variant cover to one of the issues of the Department of Truth, and it's triple signed. James Tinian is on it, and then it's got a remarked, beautiful cover. Um, It's unfortunately a 9.6, not a 9.8, but it's got the yellow label, all that good stuff, from CGC. And I bought it from him. And obviously, when you buy something, or when on eBay, the person sees your name and your address. He took it upon himself to look me up on Facebook, and he said, "Hey, are you such and such from eBay?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" And he took a picture of the comic, and he's like, "Because I'm the guy who's mailing you this right now." And I was like, I didn't even think it was weird. I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?" He told me, he's like, "Listen," he's like, "as soon as this thing sold, I regretted it." He's like, "But I was looking at your page, and he's like, obviously you're a big Tupac fan, and so I know it's going to a good home." And I told him that I was working on making my own comic, and he showed me that he had did a cover for another independent creator, and his name was Joffrey Cotton. So
Okay, cool.
so I took it upon myself to reach out to Joffrey on my own, and I friend requested him on Instagram, and then I messaged him, and then him and I swapped phone numbers, and we talked, and I told him what my ideas were, what I had down on paper, what I wanted to do, and he was willing to. Him and I, not knowing each other, being complete strangers, basically put our blind faith and trust in each other, which speaks a lot to who we both are, but who he is. I reached out to him, and he said, "I want to help you," because
Cool.
he didn't have, when he got into this, he didn't have anyone to help him. He had to figure it out all by himself. So he didn't want me to suffer the same pains and struggles as much as he did. And he's made several different. He has several different series. He's working on new issues to a lot of his books right now. He just had a new first issue of one of his books come out as well. So he's always got something going on. He's just a true creative genius in every sense of the word. He's got what I call a 10-track mind. His mind is always going in multiple directions at the same time, but you can just hear and feel and sense the charisma and the passion and the creativity. And I mean, you give him an inch in terms of a story, and he'll start spitting out ideas
Nice.
like you put a quarter in a slot machine and pull the lever, and he's just you just hit 3 sevens, and he's just giving you all your money back plus some. uh, true, one of the most creative guys I've ever met. So he was my guiding hand in all this. Helped me find an artist who is Tom Cuthbert. So I'm in Buffalo, New York. Joffrey's in Texas, and Tom is in Alabama. Tom had already worked with Joffrey on some of his books doing the art. He asked Tom if he would work with us, and he said yes. And I couldn't be happier with the art on this. Tom did some phenomenal cover work. I do
Nice.
have some of the books here to show you too, if I can in a bit.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
But so everything just kind of came together. So I started sending money Tom's way for the art, and Joffrey, him and I would talk about the story. And one of the biggest things is what I did was I made copies of all the storyboard on a legal pad that I had on legal pads, and I shipped the copies to him. Actually, I rewrote all of them first to make sure that they were like readable, and then I made copies of those and sent those to him. And then he's like, "All right." He told me that it was too much and it was too little. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "It's too much. It's too much story for one single issue, and it's too little because the whole story, the whole series is over in one issue." He's like, "Unless if you're looking to do a one shot." And I said, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, then we need to develop this." And he's
Ah,
like, he pointed out some things to me that he could kind of see the direction of where I was going.
right.
Um,
Okay.
and he would point out to me, he'd be like, "I think this character is kind of, we'll say our main character is Andre." He's like, "I think this other guy," he's like, "is kind of his keeper." He's like, "He needs to be more significant." And what I loved about Joffrey in this is he wanted to make sure that this project remained mine as much as, more mine as much as possible, because he is also the co-writer in this. He did the lettering, the editing. a lot of the writing. Him and I worked together on the writing. Um, so, oh shoot, where was I going? Uh, oh shoot,
You're kind of doing the creative process between you and Joffrey and the book.
yeah. Uh, he
How he helped you with the story, but he didn't quite take it over or anything like that.
Right. Thank you. And he had this way of, he would basically ask me questions. Why this, why that, and then maybe a little bit more in depth questions. And he's like, it's okay if you don't know the answers to some of these things, but they're things that you might want to think about. And most of them were a lot of things that I hadn't thought about. And he's like, you never know when this might become crucial or pivotal to the
Sure.
story. And it made me think about things. And in doing that, by him asking me those questions, it got me to come up with things substance wise for the first issue, or it got me to come up with things that him and I have been discussing for issue number 2 in the continuance of this story. So even though I came up with the idea, he asked me the right questions that provoked those thoughts. So I would say that he is just as much responsible for the creation of it as I am, because he got me to those points. He got me from A to B. Even though it was my idea, he got those ideas to come out of me. And some of the things that are in the book are also his ideas as well. He had never collaborated with anyone before like this in terms of writing together, and it was a roller coaster for sure. We definitely had our moments where we kind of fought like.
Well, and his main genre is horror too, right?
Yes,
Right.
yeah, he's like 100% horror.
Right.
So.
So you're a
Uh,
totally different genre than him.
Yeah, yeah, and I told him what it was, and he liked it, and he wanted to go forward with it. Which,
Cool.
after getting to know him and seeing his books, I own all his books now. Um, uh,
That's
he,
one way to sell your books to somebody.
well, no, I mean it's like he we became we started off as new business partners. We became friends, and now I consider him to be a brother.
Sure.
He's been a guiding light. He's been a mentor. He did so much. He ran the Kickstarter, created the Kickstarter. He even made some YouTube videos that were like movie trailers for the comic. He handled all the shipping and getting everything done for the backers of the Kickstarter. And I'm under his label, which is Kingdom Comics, and
Right.
he has a lot of a lot of goals that he wants to accomplish with Kingdom, and I told him I wanted to be a part of that. So he also helped me come up with my own brand for myself. So this isn't like I guess you could say kind of like how James Tynion has Tiny Onion, right? I wouldn't say this is kind of like my Tiny Onion. I don't know if you so RKR Ruxer. It's
Okay.
it's Ruxer Rare Key Runs. So if you see this logo, all it basically means is Jake Ruxer. And so these are business cards that I made. You probably can't see it too well. At least it doesn't look like it from my end. But it's got all the covers of the comic on the bottom, and then on top it's got my email, my cell phone number, my Facebook, Instagram, and email address. And if anybody wants to, text or call me who gets one of these, you're more than welcome to. But any harassers, you will be cut off. But if you buy one of the comics, I will send one of those with you. But Joffrey created that logo for me. And he's I don't want to give too much of his stuff away, but he's working on some things right now for issue number 2 of his comic Roseville, which is very intriguing, and I'm very excited. Also, after that, he plans on working on issue number 2 to his other comic, Awful Thoughts, which is you might even be familiar with some of these, which is a horror anthology comic.
Okay.
And one of the best things about that is I was incredibly flattered because he asked me if I would write one of the stories for issue number
Oh,
2.
that's
So,
cool.
so not only did he ask me to write it, I said hell yes, and I wrote that thing. This was months ago now, but I wrote that thing like literally within a day or two, and I said this is my idea, and he's like I
Wow.
love it. He's like I love it. We're gonna use it, and I was just like you got to be kidding me. I'm like
Awesome.
So,
Very
um, so him and I have become, I consider him, more than a friend. He's definitely a brother, someone I would reach out to for help, someone that I would hope that he reaches out to me if he needs help,
right.
because he's been, this wouldn't have been possible without him. But to get back to his friend Brian Pilling, who reached out to me on eBay with that story I told you. Uh, Fortunately and ironically, he actually passed away in the past year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I didn't know Brian very well, but he is the reason, basically, that he was the one who brought Joffrey and I together. So had I not met Brian, had he not reached out to me, this we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. So I thank Brian for that, and it. All I did was buy a comic book from a guy, and he's no longer with us. And because of that brief friendship that I made with him, it allowed me to meet someone else through him that allowed me to accomplish something that I wanted to accomplish. So I'm very thankful to him for that. And I know,
Very
uh,
nice.
so yeah, so that's one thing a lot of people wouldn't know or don't know.
Sure.
Um, so I like I said, I didn't know Brian well. But I'm forever in his debt because um, this is kind of his. Like I said, I don't even know the guy, but I would say that this is his book too, because it would we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for him. But and
So I'm
yes,
guessing there's a dedication to him somewhere in the book then.
actually, by the time we thought about that, it was already too late.
Well,
So uh,
maybe next book then.
yeah, yeah. Um, so because Joffrey and I had talked about that, and by the time we had discussed that, we were already, off
Right.
in off in
You
printing. So couldn't really go back on that, but definitely something that we'll want to or we'll mention in issue number 2. So
there you go.
for
Yeah,
sure.
very cool. Nice, nice. Yeah, I think we're looking on having Joffrey back either late spring, early summer, I believe. He sent us a message I think it was late December. So but we haven't really got into full talks yet of what's going on with that and stuff like that. But yeah, I believe he is coming back later this year. So
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, he and I'm not going to give anything away, but yeah, he's working on some very nice stuff, and I'm very excited to see
oh, and
what.
he's into like cleaning comic books and flattening them and just making them real nice for CDC and stuff like that too. So
Oh, he does. He buys, he sells, he cleans and presses, and people reach out to him to have him clean and press books, and then he sends the books back to them, and then they send the books themselves to CGC, and I think in some cases he sends them to CGC himself for them. I'm not 100% on that, but I
I
know
think he said he did. Yeah, I think
because
so too.
because I know he has an artist or an artist writer account with CGC, so that way if he signs something himself and sends it to them, they'll be like, okay, they'll give it the yellow label because it's coming directly from him.
Right.
So that's something that eventually him and I are going to do with my book. He's like we got to have at least a couple yellow label 9.8s, and I was like, oh, for sure. Um, so my next steps right now is I actually recently just got technically a reorder from Comics Wellspring today. All of the original books Joffrey got in the mail sent to him from Comics Wellspring a couple weeks ago, and he's been fulfilling the Kickstarter orders. So I don't have all the variant covers yet and things like that. We were put behind by many months due to many reasons, some of which I will not say specifically why, is just for the sake of not saying negative things about individuals or establishments. But we were
Sure.
put behind. But we were put behind for numerous reasons for many months, and but we finally. We got the books. We actually had the metal covers first. With the metal cover that we did for there's 5 covers to this book. There's the main cover, and then there's 4 variants. So the main cover, I actually have right here. just got them myself. I don't know how well you can
Oh,
see
nice.
that. I don't know how well you can see that in this light. Um,
Not bad. Not bad.
because I know I sent you some pictures. I don't know if you're able to pull those up,
Yeah, let me
but
see if I can get to your. You go ahead and talk.
okay. So anyway, that's cover A. Joffrey, the cover of the main cover here of cover A was actually Joffrey's idea. He said, you know what? He's like, because I didn't know where to go for the original, or not for the original, but for the first cover, and I was like, I don't want it to be too telling. I don't want it to be too obvious. And it's like, well, at the same time, the name of the book is Cosa Nostra's Comrade. So I mean, if anybody knows anything about gangsters in Russia, I mean, I would hope that by reading the title of the comic, you would immediately think of those two things.
Right.
But he wanted it to be very we'll say mafioso, I guess, for lack of a better term. And he said, it's going to be. He had this idea for just all these guys to be taken down in a room with money on the ground, guns. Guy at the very bottom holding a cannoli in his hand, and then there's just this shadowy. There's this shadowy figure that's just walking out of the door. There's four bodies on the floor, money, a cannoli, and it's just and then it's all red. It's this dark, eerie crime scene, basically, and it which I think lends a lot of from his perspective because of horror. But if you look at it, at first I can kind of actually see by looking at this how it might actually look horror-esque in nature. Cover A. Um,
Now, which cover is here? I got one of them up.
that's the red one,
Okay.
the with the title at the top.
Okay. There we go. So that way we can see that cover, and then I also had this one. That's the one you showed earlier, isn't it?
Oh
Not
no, no, I haven't shown that one. I don't. I
Oh, I'm
actually don't.
sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. That's no problem.
Okay. So, yeah, those are the two that I had. Oh, and I see Joffrey's his logo up here too.
Yeah.
I
So
I
that.
didn't even realize that at first until you said that.
So
That's
what you have there is the that's actually the metal cover.
okay. Oh,
Which
nice.
so
That's pretty
what
sharp.
what this was actually his idea too. Ironically enough, he surprised me with this one. Actually, he outsourced to a artist by the name young guy by the name of Nathan Lawson in California. Awesome guy. He's an upcoming independent artist himself. He's doing his own comic called Nullified. Absolutely great guy. He reached out to Nate and he said, "I want you to do a cover for this comic that a guy and I are making." And he said he thought it would be cool if it was an homage cover to a video game. So
Nice.
this is actually an homage cover to Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty on PlayStation 2. So if you look closely at it, you can see where there's some similarities to a PlayStation 2 case. For instance, the top with the black bar and the way
Yeah.
Kingdom Comics would be there, it's kind of written like it would be like when it says PlayStation 2. So instead of saying PlayStation 2, it says Kingdom Comics.
Nice.
Then it comes down. You have Andre, our main character, kind of in this Metal Gear Snake esque look, and then on the cover to the video game, I believe it says tactical intense espionage. On this one, we have it saying tactical intense action, just to kind of change it up a little bit. Then obviously we have our title, a limited series, and then of course a story by Jacob Ruchser. And then instead of on the cover of the video game in the bottom right corner, normally you would see the company Konami, their logo. So
Gotcha.
instead
You
of
got
them with
your
their
logo.
right, my logo with the instead of the K being red, it's actually also orange. And then you have Joffrey's logo in the top right, and then instead of him doing the traditional, M is for mature for the video games, he found this mature 17 plus MAESRB, and I personally think it just looks better.
Oh, that's perfect. It looks great.
So he came to me. He's like, I got a surprise for you, and I'm like, what? And he's like, I hired the guy to do an homage cover to a video game cover for the book. I said, that is an awesome idea. I said, never thought of that. Usually it's just movies and hip hop albums that people do homage covers to, and so he tells me. I actually ended up guessing uh, what the video game was. And he gave me a couple hints, and I figured it out in like 2 seconds. He was like USOB, and I'm like, sorry, man. I'm like, uh, so so he did that, and there's only 25 of those in existence. They were for the Kickstarter only. I only personally have four or five of them left. So
Nice.
if anybody wants one, I know most. As far as I know, at least the independent creators I know, they charge $50 to $75 for or
Right.
$60 to $75 for a metal cover. I'm only charging 50. Um, and so there's two available right now. But no, absolutely, absolutely beautiful. I was so thrilled with that, and I told him I said moving forward, we're doing this for every issue. I want there to be a video game homage cover. There has to be. Yeah. Now uh, so that you don't have a picture of the main cover.
I might have. Hold on.
I
I was
thought.
just trying to bring up something quick.
I'm sorry. I thought I sent you everything. I apologize.
No, you sent me. It's been a rough week, and I've not been as
Hey,
prepared as I should have been.
hey, man, listen. No problem there.
Um, let's see. All right, I'll just start bringing up what I got here. Let's see.
There it is.
Oh,
Yep, there's cover number one.
okay, there we go.
So, if you can
Hey,
see,
not bad for me doing this on the fly and without Steven, by the way.
yeah, man. Yeah, no, I know you're doing the, you're working for two right now.
Right.
I almost said eating for two.
No.
No, yeah, no, let's not go there, right? But yeah, so this is cover A, the main cover. This was Joffrey's idea. He's like, listen, I got an idea, and for our main character and what his background is, you know,
I like how you got the white, the green, and the red because isn't that the colors of the Italian flag?
yep.
Yeah.
And then the dark red is almost crimson, so it's kind of like also saying, because our main character is Russian, so
Russian.
Comrade is, you got your green, white, red for Italian, and then the red is kind of like, the crimson is Russian.
That's
But
cool.
it's also obviously it's also signifying death, and because
Right.
look at our scene here.
Right.
um, now the cover that you had, that first one, that blue cover.
Hang on. Let me see if I can go back to it. Um, trying to find it. There we go. That one.
This, yeah, this cover is the noir cover. Now this cover, our artist Tom, he's like, I want to do something. Just let me do it. You guys don't have to pay for it. He's like,
Oh
I just
wow,
want.
that was
Yeah,
nice.
he's like, I got an idea. I want to do it, and
You guys must be paying him good then. You're taking care of your artist. That's a good thing.
he's like, I just want to do this. So
Fun.
um, he gave us a couple, sketch ideas. The first one I wasn't particularly fond of. I was more, I liked where he was going with this, but then when he actually did it, I was like, wow. I was like, it looks. I mean, I don't know how well the viewers can see it, and you don't have to zoom in or anything. But if you were to get close, everything is black and blue, signifying the fact that it's night and it's dark, and then you have the light just of the moon, you could say, coming in and shining down on the wall of our character, and then
Right.
the shadowy figure coming in through the apartment door. Um, I just thought it looked very well. First of all, it's beautiful. Second,
Agreed. Agreed.
second, secondly, the shape of the gun, I thought was interesting because it's very bulky. It's very it made me think of the old school. Punisher comics. You know, the
Oh yeah, yeah,
with that big pistol.
right.
So I thought that was cool. And if you get real close, you can actually see like droplets of blood, and there's a band-aid on the one side of his face, and then if you look too, you can see where Joffrey used the shadowing to his advantage when doing the lettering for this one, because if you see, it says Kingdom Comics presents above the one blind. And did I send you the wrong?
Oh wait, yeah, I don't know if I got.
Oh, you know what? I think I sent you the wrong picture for this one. So on the actual cover, right above the gun,
Yeah,
like in between the shadows of the blinds, in
sure.
black small black lettering, it says presented by Kingdom Comics.
Oh, cool, cool.
So yeah, no, we just fell in love with this, and Tom was, he wanted to do it. He was gracious enough to do that, and then we loved it. And then
Yeah,
then
it's a
there
nice
was
cover. Yeah, I think they did a good job on this one.
Tom, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and then we have our hip hop homage cover, which I should have sent to you as well. That's the one where he's wearing the Adidas jacket, leaning up against the wall. An Adidas jacket that I'm also wearing right now.
okay. Oh, you got the matching jacket. Nice.
I sure do, man. I went all in on this guy. So if anybody's a Tupac fan, this is I did some. I'm a huge Tupac fan. I used to rap. Tupac's been a huge influence to me throughout my entire life. So I know doing hip hop homage covers is a thing, not only for the main industry, but also for independent creators as well. Everybody loves the homages. So to me, I was like, well, the hip hop homage has to be Tupac. It has to be. I'm like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And Joffrey was completely on board with that. He said, I got no qualms with that. And I said, well, I
I'll
think
be
we should
totally
do.
honest. I know no Tupac. I could not have told you this was an homage to him. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
It's
That's
just
all
not
right.
my genre, but that is cool. That's really cool.
So it's an homage cover to his cover "Me Against the World," which a lot of people argue is his best album. Personally, I don't think he has a best album. I think it's all great, but
Okay,
uh,
fair enough.
but but I did some research, and as far as I knew, and as far as I could see, as far as I could tell, no one had ever done a homage to "Me Against the World," which that's what this is an homage to. So if you were to, and I don't expect you to look this up and bring it up, but if you were to look up "Me Against the World" by Tupac, that's it. Just different guy, a little bit different coloring, in the colors, but that is 1,000% that cover.
See, and this is where my daughter's supposed to be helping me because she's what we call our Tito. Ah, yeah, here it is. Okay, there it goes.
Yeah. So I mean, Tom crushed it on this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
that. Wow. Oh, now I lost the other one. See, hold on. Let me see if I can get that one back. There we go. Now we can flip back and forth between the two of them. There we go. So, yeah, that looks perfect. Yeah, he did a great job.
and then we were like, what should it say, and this, that, and the third. And I was like, Joffrey and I, for legal reasons, we were like, well, we were trying to figure out what it should say. And I was like, well, at the top of the album it says Tupac. I was like, so why don't we put Andre, because he's the main character. And then where it says "Me Against the World" on the original album cover, I said, we'll just have the name of the book, Cosa Nostra's Comrade. And he was like, okay, well, perfect, no argument. And then we just kind of did it the traditional standard hip hop homage way that you see most of them. Uh, there's actually Daredevil did a homage to Tupac. I'm not, just for our viewers, I'm not going to say the name of the album out loud, strictly for my N word, and
Okay.
just out of respect for anyone who's watching. And they called it, I don't know why, but it's called Daredevil Strictly for the Kitchen. I actually have a 9.8 CGC of it here. That's how big of a fan of Tupac I am. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I don't.
Sounds like Tupac to you is Kiss or Striper to me.
Is what? I'm sorry.
Kiss or Striper.
What?
Striper.
I'm not familiar with the. What does that
Uh,
mean?
see, I'm more of a 80s and 70s heavy metal. And so Kiss, of course, you know, everyone knows who Kiss is. Please
Oh,
do.
okay. No, I know who Kiss is.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. And then Striper is an 80s Christian heavy metal band who is still going strong today, by the way. Not as big as they were in the 80s, but yeah, they're still making new albums and still going strong. So I would just say that Tupac to you is like those bands to me.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, absolutely. I see. I thought. My apologies. I thought you were saying like some sort of phrase that I wasn't aware
Oh,
of. I didn't really. Yeah, I know who Kiss is.
yeah. I was gonna say everybody on the planet knows who Kiss is. So.
You can't mistake Gene Simmons,
No.
especially when he does the traditional, white girl selfie. Yeah, look. So,
No, that's Paul that does that. The
I,
pouting. That Paul does the pouting.
no,
Gene.
no, 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 no. The tongue, mouth
Okay.
open, the tongue out.
All right.
Yeah, no, not the pouting.
I was gonna say Paul was doing the pouting long before all the girls thought it was cute. You're cool.
Oh, oh no, and Gene was doing that mouth open, tongue out thing before the
Yeah.
girls started doing that too. So,
You know,
uh,
they went through a period of time during the non-makeup days because Kiss took the makeup up off during the 80s, at the beginning of the 80s, and then through the 80s and then early 90s, they still went makeup free. Well, there was a certain point, I think it was the Hot in the Shade tour, where Gene told the band, anytime you catch me sticking my tongue out on stage, um, I'm going to pay you so much money. He's basically fining himself because he was trying not to do it because it was such a habit to him. He'd been doing it since the early 70s. And then of course he went right back to it in 96 when they reunited with the makeup. And yeah, so all right, sorry, squirrel.
no, 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 you're good, man. And then we have, I don't know if you have this one. Then we have the final cover, which is a Virgin cover.
um,
There's no title, no credits, no nothing.
that one.
Nope, that's the back of the book.
Oh,
It's the one of him holding the sniper rifle.
let's see. Nope, that's not it. Oh, this one. Got it.
Yep.
Just hang with me. I'll get it.
No, no, you're good, man. You're good, brother. So this one here, I don't know if like you probably remember. Like, do you remember the movie specifically, Death Wish 4 with Charlie Bronson?
I know of the movie. I've never watched it though,
Oh, okay, no
but I do
problem.
know of it.
So in that movie, he uses this gun. There's some other movies in the '80s that use this gun. It's an M14, a Ruger M14, and I just thought I was like, well, that's '80s. I was like, and actually, Andre, our main character, while he was in the Soviet Spetsnaz, he was a sniper. So I wanted to show that on one of the covers. And again, you have in the background here um, our dark crimson um, look. So I wanted to. Originally, it was just going to be him, the rifle, him when in his Adidas jacket, which I guess you could say is his Batman or Superman uniform, and then his gold chain, and then the crimson background to just emphasize that here's our Russian character.
Nice.
Then Tom said, well, he didn't say, he actually went and did this, and I love him for it because you got the 3 stripes for Adidas, and then you got green, white, and red for the Italian flag, and he just went and did these 3 stripes, green, white, and red. So
Nice.
then that also kind of brought it all together. It was like, all right, we basically have the title in visuals here, Cosa Nostra, So, let me tell you,
Wow.
this cover. I wish I had copies of it. Joffrey sent me pictures because he has all the variants right now from Comics Wellspring, and I'm waiting to get them from him. But this cover in physical form looks 10 times better than it does right now. And I don't know if you can tell this yourself on your end, but this particular cover, This one was not hand or digitally done. This was nothing is AI, by the way, so everybody knows nothing is AI.
Gotcha.
But this one was not digitally or drawn. This is actually a painting.
Oh
Tom did.
wow.
Tom painted this. So if you actually zoom in, you can actually see the brushstrokes.
Oh yeah, I can. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty cool. I mean, that's not something you see today in comic books. That's pretty cool. Wow.
yeah, and I know, I think airbrushing is starting to become one of the big things. I think it's cool. I think it's still art, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the whole realism thing of it. I think a lot of it's cool. Just personally, I think the realism, it's like, everything looks real now. AI looks real, video games look real. I mean, we're talking about a comic book. I mean, make it look like a comic book, but um here I am throwing out this opinion. I know some artists that do airbrushing and stuff, and they're phenomenal at it. Like, there's no denying their talent, their abilities. I just, I struggle. I struggle with the realism look on comic books a little bit. I think comic books should look like
I think
comic
it
books.
depends on your comic book. It depends on what you're trying to portray and stuff. So
It's true, and a lot of those guys too that do the airbrushing, they do a lot of stuff that doesn't look ultra real, but it is amazing how they are able to do portraits or just create something, and it literally looks like a human crafted
mm-hmm.
photograph, to say the least. It's not a picture, but it's like a picture that they created. You could look at that and say, oh, that's oh god, I can't think of her name. That's Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia right there. You know, so phenomenal talent. I don't know, just certain books, the realistic look. Like, to me, this covers realistic, right? But it doesn't look like it. I don't know why I'm getting so hell bent on this, to be honest with you. But it's just not my forte with this. I do have some exclusive covers by some artists that were airbrushed that are absolutely beautiful and that I absolutely love and that I also have graded. So I don't get me wrong, I definitely have love and respect for people that do that, and just I think there's just a time and a place for it, and I feel like I see it in a lot of places where I think it shouldn't be, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. So I don't want anyone to get off here and be like, oh, he hates airbrushers.
I mean, there's all kinds of different art mediums. So airbrushing is definitely a great medium. I used to know a guy. It's been years. He used to run a t-shirt kiosk in our local mall, and he was an airbrush artist. He did for me this phenomenal Batman, and uh, it was after Batman breaks his back, and gosh, I cannot think of the character that takes over the Batman mantle, but he had a totally different look to him, and he airbrushed a Batman shirt with that Batman on it for me. Um, he airbrushed some Converses for a Van Halen concert for me, for with the 5150 style with the red and white stripes on it and everything. And he was a big Kiss fan also.
Of
And
course he
man,
will.
I would always go by his kiosk just to see what new Kiss art he was doing, because he was constantly doing something with Gene on it and stuff like that. And somewhere I've got a piece of foam that he was practicing on, and he did a Gene Simmons for it, that he was practicing, and he's like, "I hate this. You want it? Heck yeah, I want it. What's wrong with you?" So so yeah, I
Of
have an
course.
appreciation for them. They do amazing work too. Is it always right for comic books? Maybe not. I don't know, but I think this works. It works great. It looks awesome. So I think you picked a good one. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, anybody who airbrushes, again, I'm not throwing shade on you, guys. I'm not throwing shade on people who airbrush. I don't even know why I fell down that road. So just
Yeah.
ignore me. I I apologize if I offended anyone. Um,
So
because
where do the influences come for this comic book? I mean, was there like a particular movie or or for that matter, was there a particular video game that might have inspired you into this character?
So, like I said, it was just something about watching the beginning of the movie Lord of War. You had this guy from that was Ukraine, lived in New York City, and he became like one of the largest, most famous, successful arms dealers of all time. And then that got me to have the idea for some reason to I think it would be badass to have a Russian who works at the mafia.
Gotcha.
And then after I got that idea, it always just kind of stuck with me. And I think, especially Russians and our culture, like in popular culture, movies and stuff like that, the Russian is either always the bad guy, like in James Bond, you see the Soviet Union as the enemy a lot.
Well, the
You
first thing I think of is Rocky 4.
Yeah, that was actually where I
Shockingly.
was going. That's actually where I was going next. So, Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren, and
Yes.
Rocky Four. Ivan Drago or Dolph Lundgren actually had a small scene in the James Bond movie A View to a Kill where he plays a KGB agent. He's got like 5 seconds of screen time, but he's in a
Now,
James Bond movie.
Steven would have known that because Steven's a big, huge 007 fan.
Is he?
Yeah, so he would have known that. But I love Ivan Drago. I'm a huge Rocky fan. So there you go. You got the Italian and the Russian.
Ironically, an artist that I know that art airbrushes, he just did a phenomenal airbrushing. I forgot what the cover was for it though. He just did a phenomenal airbrushing of Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago, and I think he either got or is getting Dolph Lundgren to sign it. He might have already got him to sign
Oh
it
wow,
already.
cool.
It's absolutely beautiful. Like you can see the sweat beads on him, and he's wearing, he's got his gloves on, that spiky pure blonde hair, and
Yep.
and he's an airbrusher, and this looks real, and I love it. So guys, when I say I meant no harm to people who airbrush, I meant no harm. I just think there's a time and a place for it. Um, uh, but oh, okay, so yeah, so then you got the Soviet Union, in James Bond movies and in movies in the 80s in general, and then you got like Red Dawn, the Soviets came over here, were taking us over, and then in a lot of movies, the Russian characters were either quirky and goofy, or they were psychotic, or they were just that one random big tough guy that no one could beat up. I don't think, and there probably is a movie out there, and chances are I've probably seen it because I'm a movie buff, but I just can't think of it. But I just really can't think of a movie where the Russian character was like really out there right in front and center. Now, I am not Russian, and I am also not Italian. I just thought that this was a really cool idea, and it resonated with me. And growing up when I was a younger kid, I started watching rated R movies in general, but mafia movies at a very young age. Like I saw The Godfather, like probably when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, the core themes of that movie are actually quite, believe it or not, are actually quite wholesome because it really is about family. Um, but and that's kind of something that the actual mafia started to adopt certain things. There's certain things that are said in The Godfather that people think that people in the mafia said, but that's not true. There's certain things that were said in the movie The Godfather that guys in the mafia started saying because of the Godfather movie. So um,
That's
you
why.
know even just the quotations like "leave the gun, take the cannoli," or
Right.
"I'll
Yeah.
make him an offer he can't refuse," or just the term Godfather. I believe was also, I could be wrong on that. It may have already been used, but it may not have been. Um, and not to quote, have you ever seen Goodfellas?
I have not. I need to watch that.
Okay, well, in the beginning of that movie, he says, "As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster." Now, I didn't always want to be a gangster, but I think that as being a man in America, if you don't like or know things about the mafia, you've at least heard of them, you know who they are.
Right.
So, as being a young man, you could kind of see how the organized crime mafia gangster life is very alluring. I mean, who, if you take away, the murder, the extortion, the gambling, the prostitution, the union stuff,
It gets romanticized.
yeah. There's, I mean, who basically they're kind of living the American dream, and by that I mean, who wouldn't want to be hanging out with their friends all day, making good money, wearing nice clothes, having jewelry, having a pretty lady on their hip, living in a nice house, and driving a nice car? I mean, that's pretty much the American dream, right?
Right.
Now that's what a lot of these guys did or are doing, but they are doing not so great things to be living that way.
Sure.
But that's the part that is, I think, alluring for people. They see the suits, they see the gold rings, they see the cars, they see the bravado, they see the way they talk to each other, and the egos and the strength, and it's a very male thing for sure.
Well,
But
and there's a respect aspect to it too.
yeah.
Right. So that's kind of an unwritten rule within the mafia, mobsters, so on and so forth too.
Oh, and especially with The Godfather, and that's something I picked up from my father as well, because he claims I don't he claims he didn't steal this from the movie, but if you've seen The Godfather, obviously, right?
I'm ashamed to say no, I haven't. I am
What?
watching. I'm watching
Oh
the Penguin.
no!
I'm watching the Penguin. So,
You get okay.
have you
That
seen the Penguin yet?
Yes, I have. It's fantastic. Now,
Oh my gosh, so good.
real quick, not to get off subject, but anyone who thinks Sylvester Stallone is not a good actor and likes gangster or mafia stuff, you need to watch the Paramount Plus show Tulsa King.
Oh
Because,
no, no, I love Tulsa King. I am a
oh,
huge fan of that show.
like,
First of
and
all, I love Sly. I think Sly's awesome. Yeah, I like I said, I'm a huge Rocky fan. I love all but one Rocky movie. The Rocky Five. That's a horrible movie.
oh no, why does everyone hate? It's like everyone
Because
hates
the
God.
movie's terrible.
It's like everybody hates Godfather Part 3. It's like, okay, it's like, I know you probably haven't seen it, but like as a standalone movie, yeah, I could see how it's not that great. But in terms of the story of the characters,
I hate
the
the kid, man. I hate the kid, and I hate the fact that he basically steals the relationship between Rock and Rock's son. And I can't stand that kid. I hate him. Sorry.
you, no, that means he did his job. That means they say if an actor can make you hate them, they're a
No,
good actor.
yeah, okay, I'll give you that. You're right. Yeah,
So
I oh man, I can't stand him, and that's part of the reason I hate that movie. I love all the other Rocky films. The other Rocky films are fantastic. I mean, Apollo Creed, I love him. He's a great opponent, and then Mr. T. How can you not love Mr. T as Clubber Lang?
of course, and then of course you got Hulk Hogan at the beginning.
Yes,
Ironically,
Underlips.
yeah, Thunderlips.
Oh
To
my
all my love slaves out there, Thunderlips is here in the flesh, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
See, yeah, I could talk all night about Rocky.
Oh, I could talk about movies all night, but what I was going to say with The Godfather, my father claims he didn't steal this from that movie, but if you've ever seen it, Don Corleone, played by Marlon Brando, he kind of plays off of, well, not plays off of, he to if he does something for someone, he doesn't expect them to do something for him, but he'll do a favor for them in the hopes, that they'll remember what he did for them. So in that way, when there comes a time when he needs something and he calls on them, that person or people will not hesitate because they'll remember what he did for them. So that's kind of where you get like mutual respect. And that's something that my father taught me. And it's like, and he's very good with that because he knows so many people that can do so many things. I mean, just random stuff. Like if there's something you were working on, he'll be like, oh, I know a guy that can do that. Or I can call
I
a guy
got
that
a
can do
guy.
it. Or I know a guy that owes me a favor. And he does, and he'll call him and then he'll, and I love it. He's got this relationship with people that's like, it's not, well, hey, remember back in 82 when I blah, 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 well, you owe me. It's not like that. It's like, hey, it's me. How you doing? I got this. Can you help me out? Yeah, sure.
Right.
awesome. And then it just keeps going. It's just a cycle, you know. Then when he
Right.
can do something for them, he does. I love that. That kind of comes from, you know, The Godfather, and that's how I was kind of raised in terms of, um, if someone does something for me or I do something from them, I have the hope that they'll remember what I did for them if there's ever a time when I'm in need. And, I try to be there for people, when they're in need. So, I think it's a good way to be. It's almost like paying it forward for the people that, you know.
Right.
And at least for people that you know. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay it forward to strangers, but within your own world and circle and family and friends and so on,
Sure.
business partners. But yeah, the whole. I mean, I just feel like the mafia genre. That's something I was exposed to very young. I thought it was something everybody would know, at least know of, and be able to relate to or like, and something I always liked and related to. Real quick, I don't know how much time you have, but when I was in middle school, I don't know how this happened. Don't ask me because I have no idea. But when I was in middle school, I want to say maybe sixth grade, a group of us during the lunch class formed our own mafia.
Oh my God.
And what I mean by that is we took out a notebook and a pen and we wrote down who was the Don, who was the consigliere, who was the underboss, who was like the like the right hand man or hit man, and who and I remember my friend Ryan at the time. He was the Don, and I was like, um, I don't remember what my like official position was, but I
So
basically.
anybody wake up with a pony's head in their bed?
You mean in their locker?
Yeah. Yeah, in her locker.
No, no, but like during lunch, like he would give me his money and I'd go get his lunch for him and I'd bring it out to him and then I would stand next to him with my, almost like a Secret Service agent looking around, we took it seriously for about a week and then it all just kind of dissolved. But you're young and dumb, you do fun, cool stuff like that. So it's something, it's something that's very much in, part of our society, part of our history, and something that people who aren't involved in that life, like you said, they romanticize and they like, and it's also entertaining and it's alluring. It's very alluring in a lot of ways. Um, it's just a wonderful genre. It's a genre that everybody I feel like can relate to or get behind, and
I think it's a smart genre to pick because like you said, even if you don't know The Godfather, like I've never watched The Godfather, but I know certain things from The Godfather. And like you said, I've watched Tulsa King. I absolutely love Tulsa King. It's a great show. And I've watched many other things, that were inspired by The Godfather. So it's kind of like the Beatles inspired everyone. I'm not a Beatles fan. I don't like the Beatles, but I respect their place in rock and roll history. You know what I mean? It's kind of a similar thing. I'm not saying I don't like The Godfather. I just never watched it, but I'm just not a big Beatles fan. But man, like Kiss was, they were so influenced by the Beatles. Anytime Gene or Paul would talk, it was always how the Beatles influenced them. So I think what you picked here is a comparison to that.
Oh yeah, no, I would say absolutely, but and my brother would agree with you on that because he is a diehard Elvis fan, and I think it's John Lennon who is quoted as saying, "Before Elvis, there was nothing." So if my brother was in here, he'd be saying that right now.
There you go.
So
My wife's a huge Elvis fan, by the way.
oh, is she? Is
Yeah.
she?
Yeah,
Oh,
my
that's
wife is, my dad was, my mother-in-law is. So yeah, I'm surrounded by Elvis fans.
oh no, oh no. No, don't now tell me, does she wear like the TCB charm on
No,
on
no,
her
no,
necklaces or anything?
no,
No.
no, but she watches like Elvis movies on his birthday and stuff
Oh
like that.
God, they're so horrible, aren't they?
Oh,
I think Elvis was great, but I don't like his movies.
I okay. I always tell her my favorite Elvis Presley movie. he actually wasn't in. It was about him, but it wasn't. It's called Hotel or Heartbreak Hotel, and the movie is about this teenager in the 70s. Okay, so we're talking at the time Elvis is wearing the white jumpsuits, and he's gotten fat and so on and so forth. But this teenager, his mother is such a big fan of Elvis Presley that she opens up a hotel that she names Heartbreak Hotel after Elvis Presley. Well, she's dying, and so the kid gets tickets to an Elvis concert, and he and some buddies actually kidnap Elvis after the show. Yeah. So, and it's all about this kid teaching Elvis that you're not cool anymore, and how to be cool again, and how to be relevant again. And one of the cool things is he points out a poster of Alice Cooper in his room and everything, which I absolutely love. So, big Alice Cooper fan too. So, yeah, that's my favorite Elvis Presley movie, is when this kid puts him in his place and says, "Look, you were cool in 1950s, but you're not cool today." Because I think somebody should have done that to Elvis Presley.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's. I don't make me get my brother in here, man. He'll fight to
Oh
the
no,
death on Elvis. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I
Uh,
I I have to contend with my wife. She'll watch. If she's not watching it now, she'll watch it later, and then she'll be like, "What do you mean?" Anyway, so yeah, I'm sure I'll get in trouble later.
but yeah, man, you got to listen, Mike. You got to watch The Godfather, man. I don't like. I mean that as someone who is genuinely concerned for you. No, I'm just no, I'm just trying to tease you. But no, really, I
I do.
mean,
I know Joe Pesci's part of the Goodfellas. He's not a part of Godfather, but I am a big Joe Pesci fan too. So
oh yeah. And if you haven't seen oh my God, come on. You probably know quotes from that movie at least. I bet.
I think I do.
You
I'm
know.
I'm sure I know something from it. I know
But
quotes from all kinds of stuff. So I mean, but yeah, okay, cool, cool. So is your Kickstarter happening? Is it going on right now? Where are we at with your Kickstarter?
oh no, the Kickstarter's done. The Kickstarter's been
Okay,
done for months. We had a lot of Kickstarter's actually been done since last last March. We had so many last minute and unforeseen setbacks, as I mentioned before, that I won't get into. But all the Kickstarter orders have been sent out, except for the ones that there was only 2 people that backed that ordered CGC that backed with CGC reward tiers. So Joffrey's waiting to get the books back from CGC to send to those people. But other than that, he sent everything else out to anyone who was. Who backed the book and was who earned a reward for supporting us. And then, so about 2 weeks ago, Joffrey got all the books and he sent everything out. And I'm waiting to get my portion of them from him. And then in the meantime, while I've been waiting to get my portion from him, I placed a reorder to Comics. To Comics Wellspring and
okay,
ordered some more books of just the main cover, because all I have right now is just a bunch of covers of cover A, the original cover, and then 5 copies of the metal cover, which only 25 exist.
okay.
Um, so if anybody's interested in the book or wants to buy it, get either physically or digitally, you can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook under my name, Jacob Ruchser. I am on Instagram under @ruxer.rare.key.runs, or you can just, I'm sure you could probably just type in Jacob Ruchser as well.
And
Um,
Ruchser spelled Ruchser. Just don't want anyone who's listening to it audio to get confused with the pronunciation and spelling. So
well, it can be confusing because the brand name, the way I spelled Ruxer, it looks like Ruxor, and that's spelled Rucksor.
gotcha.
So I wanted to change it up for aesthetic purposes.
And do you have a website that they can go to?
Joffrey does have a Kingdom Comics
Okay.
website. However, it doesn't have all these books on it yet. So as of right now, if anybody out there wants to, get the book, they would have to either reach out to Joffrey or to me directly to work out payment and shipping. That's currently how we're running it. Joffrey's got a lot of stuff on his plate. He just finished another Kickstarter. He's working on that. He's getting the Comrade stuff, finally finished, and then he's also working on issue number 2 for another one of his other books. So, I mean, but you can reach out to us, if anybody is interested. Oh, I have very few of these as well, but I have some 11 by 17 prints of the metal cover
Oh, that's cool.
that are actually also signed by Nathan Lawson. He
Cool.
made the prints for me, so I do have some of those. Those are for sale, and some of the people through the Kickstarter. Just a couple of last minute things. This is something you could have got through the Kickstarter. It is a Nintendo. A
Oh my
Nintendo.
gosh, that's a Super Nintendo.
No, it's a Nintendo
Or
64 box.
64. Okay.
So I met this guy on Etsy, and I had him. He took the Noir cover. He made it the main cover, and then on the back, he took
Oh,
he took the sniper cover and made it a. Where's my finger? He faded it into the background, and then I had him take the last 2 covers and he made them look like gameplay images. And then
dang, he did a great job. That's awesome.
so you could only get those through the Kickstarter. I do have like 8 of them left, and then I had hard enamel pins made that
Oh,
say
nice.
Comrade,
Right.
just like on the cover of the book. So, uh, so
Right.
yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much the way. That's what we have going on right now. So I'm working on doing a local comic book signing here, um,
Oh,
working out the kinks for that, and then doing advertisement for that. And I didn't get into this to make money. I got into this because I wanted to do it. And a lot of guys that do it and have been doing it for years, they all tell me they're like, "This is a money pit." They're like, "If you got into this to make money, it's going to take a long time." And I heard a good quote once. I don't know if you heard this because a lot of people I know haven't. They said, "Teach a man to like comic books, he'll be broke." Have you heard this one? He'll
go
be
ahead.
teach a man to like comic books, he'll be broke for a week. Teach a man to make comic books, he'll be broke for a lifetime.
Well,
And I gotta say,
I've always heard if you want to keep your kids off of drugs, just introduce them to comic books. They won't ever have money for drugs.
I would agree with that too. Absolutely.
Yes, I got stacks and stacks of them. So awesome. All right. Well, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. And your comic sounds great. I'm gonna have to get a hold of you and get a copy of it. Um, and so if you want to reach out to Jacob and see if you can get a copy of his issue, please do. I'd highly recommend it. This has been a blast, dude. I really appreciate you being on here. I wish Steven could have been here with me. I think he would have enjoyed this conversation, but maybe next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I had a blast. Thank you, again for allowing me to come on. It's I appreciate you doing that and taking the time. It means a lot, just so you know.
Oh, no problem. And again, thank you for reaching out and introducing us to your comic. I love meeting new creators and finding out how they came up with their ideas and so on and so forth because we all have different inspirations and stuff. Just fantastic. So, any last things that you want to push before we go?
I just like to say to everybody, always remember that good things take time. Um, there may be times where you don't like something or something that someone's doing or made. Try to have an open mind. Like I kind of went off the rails with that whole airbrush thing, but again, I would say we're just try to be good people to each other, and let's make and read some frickin' comic books, man.
There you go, man. I like it. I like it. All right. Well, with that said, again, thank you for being on, Jacob.
Too
And I
much.
will end this like I try to end every week. So if you made it this far, make sure you go and like us on Facebook and YouTube or Rumble, wherever you're watching us, Twitter, not Twitter. Um, yeah, I can't stream to Twitter anymore. Anyway, Twitch, that's the other one I was trying to think of. Yeah, if you're watching us on any of those, please make sure and give us a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe to us. And we will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, for a Star Wars episode, Steven and I. And with that said, over and out. May the force be with you. And please do not Steven skip this episode because we are much more better than the rest. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,
may the force be with you.